It's pretty amazing when you think about it. How can the exact same story, told 2,000 years apart, reveal something so completely different about who we are? Well, today we're going to look at two versions of the Iphigenia myth, one ancient, one modern, and track what is really a seismic shift in the human spirit. Okay, this single line, this is pretty much the key to the whole thing. It just perfectly nails the huge, monumental shift between the original Greek play by Euripides and how the German writer Goethe completely reimagined it 2 millennia later. So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to look at five key areas: the main conflict itself, what's up with the gods, the heroine Iphigenia, the monsters she's up against, and finally, how that ancient family curse actually gets broken. All right, let's jump right in with the first, and honestly, the most fundamental difference. It all boils down to one big question. Are we just pieces in some big cosmic chess game, or is the real battle happening right inside our own heads? So in Euripides' world, you really have to think of the characters as puppets on a string. I mean, their lives are run by what the gods want, by these ancient curses. Everything is external. So the name of the game is just finding a clever way to escape your fate. But then, 2,000 years later, Goethe comes along and just flips the entire script. He takes that battlefield from the outside world and moves it inside the human soul. Suddenly, the story is all about moral choices and the very real cost of your own freedom. And this massive shift from an external fight to an internal one, it needed a new engine, a new driving force. For Goethe, writing right in the thick of the Enlightenment, he replaces the whims of the gods with this central idea he calls humanitate. Now, what is that? Well, you can think of it as our internal moral compass. It's that struggle to be compassionate, ethical, and pure. It's not about what the gods are demanding anymore. It's about what your own humanity demands of you. So, with this new focus on what's happening inside our heads, that naturally leads to a huge, huge change for the gods. I mean, they go from being these major players on stage to, well, something else entirely. Okay, so think about it. In the Greek play, the gods are literal actors. They show up, they make demands, they need you to perform rituals, and they even pop in at the end to wrap everything up neatly. That classic Deus ex machina. But in Goethe's version, the gods go silent. They become metaphors, symbols of Iphigenia's own conscience, her highest moral ideals. The solution to the problem doesn't come down from the heavens anymore. It has to come from real human psychological growth. And this next part is a brilliant example of that shift. Remember the oracle's prophecy to bring the sister home? Well, in Goethe's hands, it stops being a literal scavenger hunt for a statue. It becomes a moral riddle, a test of perception and ethics. The answer isn't some physical object. It's a deep realization about who you need to become. So, okay, the world has changed, the gods have changed. What about our hero Iphigenia? Well, she gets a complete makeover, and her transformation, maybe more than anything else, really shows us how much the values have shifted. I mean, on one side, you have the cunning survivor, and on the other, you have what Goethe called the beautiful soul. Euripides' Iphigenia, her weapon is deceit, what the Greeks called dolos. It's how she stays alive. But for Goethe's Iphigenia, her weapon is truth itself, her pure tone. See the difference? Her goal isn't just to survive, it's to maintain her moral purity. And for the Greek heroine, let's be clear, lying isn't some big moral failure. It's a tool. It's necessary. Frankly, it's clever. She's in a hostile land, dealing with a so-called barbarian king. Using deceit is just smart strategy. It's pure pragmatism. But for Goethe's heroine, wow, the very thought of lying sends her into a deep, profound crisis. For her, deception isn't a tool. It's a stain on her soul. It's a violation of that core humanitate. She gets that freedom bought with a lie isn't real freedom. The cost to her own integrity is just way too high. And this deep dive into the internal world, it doesn't just change the hero. It also completely transforms the story's monsters and villains. They aren't just external threats you have to fight anymore. Just look at the Furies who are tormenting Iphigenia's brother, Orestes. In the Greek play, these are real, tangible, horrifying monsters chasing him around, and the only way to get rid of them is through a very specific religious ritual. But in Goethe's world, the Furies become psychological shadows. They're the internal demons of his own guilt and trauma. And what heals him? Not a ritual. It's the simple, powerful human connection with his sister. And it's not just the monsters. Even the human villain, King Thoas, gets a major upgrade. In Euripides' version, he's basically a stock barbarian character, an obstacle to be tricked and then brushed aside by a god. But Goethe gives him real depth. He's a noble, if pretty rigid ruler who stands for law and tradition. He isn't outsmarted. He's persuaded by Iphigenia's moral strength, and he's actually given the power to choose mercy.
So, all of this, it brings us to the ultimate question, right? How do you break an ancient curse? All these differences we've talked about lead to two completely different answers, two totally separate paths to freedom.
So you've got two paths. Path one is Euripides' way. You escape your terrible fate by being clever, by playing the game better than anyone else, and by getting the gods on your team. The solution is external. You outsmart the system. Path two is Goethe's, and it's way more radical. He argues that the cycle of violence is only broken from the inside, when one person has the courage to be purely, authentically human. You don't just escape the system, you actually transform it. And that difference leads us right to the two endings. The Greek story ends with a successful escape. They get away, they outrun the enemy, and they leave him behind. But the German story, it ends not in a flight, but in a transformation. The enemy isn't outrun, the enemy becomes a friend. The end goal isn't just survival, it's reconciliation. So, at the end of the day, looking at these two plays side by side, it's like looking at a roadmap of our own Western culture. It traces this incredible journey from a worldview that's terrified of an uncontrollable external fate to one that champions the power of the individual, ethical self to actually shape our own reality. Which, of course, leaves us with one final big question to chew on. We love to celebrate the triumph of the self, right? But have we really truly escaped those ancient curses, the cycles of violence, of division, of fate? Or have we just gotten better at internalizing them, giving them new, modern names like history, psychology, or ideology,